approved on the fact that we are collecting park impact fees, and those park impact fees are not being put to work in the areas where the projects are impacting the population.
We don't have a joint meeting, do we?
There is a joint council and housing
Council on Housing
authority meeting.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I will call to order the joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have a roll call for the City Council?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver. Mayor Quintero.
Here. And roll call for the Housing Authority.
Authority members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Mincy.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Sharon Najarian.
Here.
May we have your report?
The agenda for the October 9, 2012 joint public meeting of the City Council and the Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, October 4, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. The first item, or actually the only item on this agenda, is the Director of Community Development regarding 5-year extension to develop Housing Authority-owned property located at 5th and Sonora. 1A is council resolution extending the deadline to initiate development.
All right. Ms. Beers?
Mayor Quintero, members of the council, as well as the Housing Authority, I'd like to ask Peter Zobak to come on up and give you a report on this item.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the Housing Authority. Community Development staff is seeking City Council adoption of a resolution extending the time frame for Housing Authority development of a site located in the Grandview neighborhood of Glendale, a site that's more commonly referred to as the 5th and Sonora property. Back in October of 2007, the Housing Authority acquired approximately 68,000 square foot parcel, approximately about 1.6 acres of land near the intersections of 5th and Sonora Street, at the purchase price of $6 million, utilizing redevelopment set-aside funds. The purpose of the acquisition was for a future affordable housing development. Since acquisition of the site, the authority had considered issuing an RFQ for the development of the property, but first directed staff to pursue the possible development of the property as a city park. Staff did examine that option and reported back to the City Council and the Housing Authority that due to the budget limitations, there was no ability for the city to be able to develop it as a park at that time. Concurrent with the park study was the state's proposal and elimination of redevelopment, actions that continue to place into question at least for about another 30 days before we understand we may be having a final resolution. Acts that put into question the ability of the Housing Authority to retain and develop the site. Despite the state's actions on redevelopment law is still in effect, and Health and Safety Code Section 33334.16 of the Community Redevelopment Law provides that within 5 years from the date a property interest is acquired with housing funds for affordable housing purposes, activities must be initiated consistent with the development of the property for that purpose. There's also provision in the code that allows the City Council to extend the period for retention of the property for an additional period not to exceed 5 years. So there's a 5-year land bank rule that's in effect in developing Housing Authority-owned property for Housing Authority housing purposes. There's also the ability of the City Council to adopt a resolution to extend that out for another 5 years, and that's the action that's being requested of the Housing Authority today.
Why? Why again? Why the extension? I wasn't clear on it.
The extension is being requested because at this point in time, the property is in limbo with regards to its development because of the state's action to eliminate redevelopment.
Why 5 years?
That's the increment that they
If it's going to
allow.
be resolved in 30 days, why should we extend it for 5 years?
The law allows for a 5-year increment. Certainly, the Housing Authority can come back, and we plan on coming back to the authority in the future to restart the discussion on development of the site, and that development can take place well within the 5-year time frame. It can be next year by the time the authority.
Extend it for 1 year and then.
No, it requires a 5-year.
So it's
Specifically states a 5-year extension.
so we can't extend it for a year or 2 years. If we're going to extend it, it has to be 5 years
Correct.
or not.
It has to be at a maximum 5-year extension. It could be developed less than 5.
When you say maximum, that means you can extend it less than 5 years. What I want to know is,
It's a mandatory 5-year extension. that could be developed technically, though, in less than the 5-year period.
So it's either 5 years or nothing?
Correct.
Okay, that's,
Well, I'd like to see this land developed as a partial affordable housing and the rest of it in parkland. We'll see where that idea goes in the coming years. Large parcel and closest park really, well, either Brand Park to the north or you have to cross over to Pelancani. So this neighborhood, which is mostly multifamily up above Glen Oaks, could use a nice park there, but we'll see. Do I have a motion to
Move 1A.
Second?
roll call for the city council?
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Menuchyan,
yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes.
Move to adjourn for the council?
Second.
Move to adjourn for housing.
Second.
Or adjourn for the council and housing. Okay, we will now move